Vasishta continued, just as you questioned me just now, O Ram. You did question me once before in a previous epoch. At that time too you were my disciple and I was your guru. I remember that dialogue clearly and I shall repeat it for you. What's the significance of Vasishta at this point in the text, which is at the very end, of bringing this up? We're going to get a dialogue between the disciple and the preceptor from a previous epoch. The point here is this teaching is eternal, it's ongoing. The spiritual practice, enlightenment practice, does not end with the ending of the Yoga Vasishta. It's eternal. It's being repeated from epoch to epoch. So even once the text is completed, it's still carrying on. It's still carrying on then, now, and always. The disciple asked, "Pray tell me, Lord, at the end of the world cycle, what is it that perishes and what is it that endures and does not so perish?" And this again is the dynamic of enlightenment practice. We move between what perishes and what endures. This translation of the Yoga Vasishta ends with the mantra Om Tat Sat. I'll say more about that later, but it's worth bearing it in mind during these penultimate chapters. My son, whatever is seen perishes. Whatever is seen means whatever is cognised. In other words, whatever results from the process of cognition. And this is Tat That. Everything we think of. Just as when you enter the deep sleep state, the dream world perishes. So that's dissolution. Cognition is creation. Enquiry or enlightenment practice is dissolution. All these worlds, with their mountains and their directions, perish utterly, even time and activity, or time and motion. As also the world order perish. All beings perish, or at least all notions of other beings perish, and even space disappears because there is none that thinks of space or thinks in space. Space is a function of the senses. Space is a function of cognition. Even the gods like Brahma the creator, Vishnu the protector, and Rudra the redeemer cease to be. They do not exist even in name. What remains? Only the infinite consciousness. But even this is an inference based on the present experience. The disciple asked, "It has been said that the unreal does not come into being, and that the real has no non-being. How does this happen, and how does what is seen perish?" So how can there be anything unreal? How can there be anything other than the real? So how can there be illusion, and how can it perish? The preceptor said, "My son, this does not perish, and hence it is said that it is not seen." So it isn't that anything perishes, it's just that it's no longer seen, or it's no longer cognised. Cognition is bypassed. It is said that the unreal has no being, and the real has no non-being. That which does not exist at any time anywhere is already non-being. How does it perish? What is permanent in the water seen in the mirage, and what is permanent in illusion? Whatever is seen in this universe is an illusion, And why should not the illusions cease to be? So whatever is cognised is not real, and cognition never stops. Just as a dream comes to an end on waking up, and the waking state comes to an end on going to sleep, all this world appearance comes to an end. When one wakes up, where does the dream city go? Similarly, one does not know where the world appearance goes. The world appearance is not important. What's important is our conviction in it. We are convicted by it. We are imprisoned by it. We are imprisoned by our notions about it. When we give up our notions about it, the world appearance is Brahman. The point here is there's a coming and going. Consciousness comes and goes. It goes between dream and deep sleep. It goes between sleep and waking. It goes between illusion and reality. This is the dynamic of consciousness. This is what's summed up in the mantra Om Tat Sat. Tat is process of cognition. It's all of the notions that we identify with. Sat is the realization that all of that is the working of consciousness. So Tat and Sat are the dynamic of consciousness, of enlightenment practice, and Om is the fundamental, unmoving, unchanging nature of consciousness. The disciple asked, why does all this appear to be, and why does that appearance cease to be? In other words, why do we believe in our notions, and why do we stop believing in our notions? Why do we identify with our notions, and why do we stop identifying with our notions? Why does consciousness identify with its notions? Why does consciousness stop identifying with its notions? The preceptor replied, it is the infinite consciousness alone that appears as all this. Independent of it, there is no world. Even while appearing to be all this, the infinite consciousness does not lose its own true nature or identity. Both appearance and non-appearance are aspects of consciousness, just as when your form is reflected in water, for instance. The reflection is temporary, and your own form is not. Dreaming and dreamless sleep are aspects of one sleep. Even so, creation and dissolution are aspects of Brahman. And this is what's summed up in the mantra Om Tat Sat. Om is Brahman, Tat is the reflection, it's the reflection in cognition, and Sat is the realization of the consciousness underlying all of creation, all of cognition.